You know her face. Everybody did. In the early 90s, it was everywhere, glowing on magazine covers, shining from giant billboards, appearing in music videos, and gracing every major fashion campaign that mattered. Helena Christensen was not just another model, she was one of the defining supermodels of her generation, a symbol of beauty, mystery, and effortless grace. Yet, while the entire world became fascinated by her image, very few people truly knew the person behind it, the woman beyond the camera flash, beyond the glamour, beyond the perfect picture. I mean, of course, it changes you, she once said, reflecting on fame, but I feel like it changed me in an okay, decent way. I think you just have to be open for whatever is out there, and try not to be too cynical. Let it all in and experience life as it happens. Helena wasn't chasing the spotlight, she didn't have to. Somehow, even without trying, she became one of the most memorable names in fashion and stayed that way for decades. But this isn't just a story about beauty, it's a story about the cost of it. The pressure, the silence, the personal sacrifices, the relationships that unraveled beneath the bright lights. The sleepless nights, the endless travel, and the quiet decision to step behind the camera at a time when she could have easily remained in front of it forever. Helena Christensen wasn't trying to be seen, but she saw it all. She lived through moments that most people could only imagine, moments that tested her strength, her peace, and her sense of self. This is the real story of one of fashion's most recognizable faces, not the photos, not the headlines, but the actual life. Before the runways, the videos, and the magazine covers, Helena Christensen was simply a quiet girl growing up in Copenhagen. Born on Christmas Day in 1968, she came into a world of contrasts, raised by a Danish father and a Peruvian mother, an unusual mix in Denmark at the time. That unique background quietly shaped her worldview long before fashion ever did. She once described her mother as passionate, artistic, and full of fiery emotion, while her father was calm, organized, and deeply grounded. Somewhere between those two energies, her mother's fire and her father's calm, is where Helena seemed to find her balance. She grew up speaking many languages: Danish, Spanish, English, Swedish, and even a bit of French. Not because she wanted to sound sophisticated, but simply because she had to adapt. "Nobody speaks Danish," she once said with a dry smile. "So you just adapt." Helena's early life wasn't glamorous. She's often said it felt completely normal: a modest home, quiet routines, long walks with her mom, and simple joys. But even then, something about her stood out. Her eyes, striking and deep, carried a mystery even as a child. Her expression was often unreadable, calm but alert, soft but strong. She didn't dress to impress anyone, didn't try to draw attention, and maybe that's exactly why people couldn't look away. Growing up tall and skinny made her an easy target. The teasing and the comments stung, and she never forgot them. "It doesn't go away," she said years later. "You just learn how to carry it differently." By her teenage years, people had started to notice her potential. At just 17, she entered and won the Miss Universe Denmark pageant. That victory took her to the international stage, where she represented her country, but she didn't love the experience. It felt too polished, too rehearsed, too far from the authenticity she valued. Then came something that suited her better: the Ford Models Look of the Year contest in 1987. She didn't win, but she didn't need to. The fashion world had already seen her, and it wanted more. Soon after, Helena left Denmark for Paris. It sounds like a dream. A teenager boards a plane to one of the world's fashion capitals and starts working with the biggest designers. But the reality was different. Paris was fast, unfamiliar, and overwhelming. She was barely out of high school, navigating a city she didn't fully understand, learning a business that operated by its own unspoken rules. "I'd been modeling in Paris for about 2 years, she said in an interview, "and then I did some work back in Denmark, but it's completely different. Here, it's people's lives, the designers, the photographers, they live and breathe it. In Denmark, nobody really cares that much. They just do it, it comes out in a magazine, and that's it. Here, it's hysteria. That contrast stayed with her. But Helena adapted. She always did. What made her special was her quietness. She didn't perform. She didn't try to be loud or charming. She had presence, the kind that didn't need words. Photographers noticed. Designers noticed. Soon, the girl from Copenhagen was becoming a name in Paris. Her big moments began with photographers who saw something deeper. Fabrizio Ferri's moody black and white portraits revealed Helena's quiet intensity. Then came Peter Lindbergh, who never wanted perfection, he wanted emotion, and Helena gave him exactly that. And then came Herb Ritts and the project that changed everything. In 1991, she starred in the now iconic music video for Chris Isaak's Wicked Game, directed by Ritts. There was no script, no dialogue, just a beach in Hawaii, wind, water, and two people caught between passion and calm. The result was unforgettable. Behind the scenes, though, it was far from glamorous. The wind was freezing, the rocks sharp, and Helena's feet were bleeding. Yet, she never complained. Her stillness, her gaze, her quiet strength turned that video into something timeless. From there, Helena Christensen was everywhere. Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar. She walked for Chanel, Versace, Valentino, Yves Saint Laurent. She became the face of Revlon, and her campaigns were plastered across cities worldwide. Yet, despite all the fame, she kept her distance from the chaos. While the fashion world exploded into celebrity culture, Helena stayed grounded. She rarely gave interviews, avoided overexposure, and focused on her craft. She could be romantic one day, androgynous the next, mysterious or simple. Whatever the camera needed, she could become, not by acting, but by being. But fame brings pressure. Endless flights, fittings, shoots, interviews. The schedules were brutal. And while many crumbled under the weight, Helena managed quietly. Years later, she opened up about how exhausting it could be, the pressure to stay perfect, stay thin, stay relevant. Nobody talked about mental health back then, she said. Now, I make sure they know it's okay too. In the early 1990s, she also lived through one of the most emotional chapters of her life, her relationship with INXS frontman Michael Hutchence. They were together for 4 years, deeply in love, but his tragic head injury changed everything. Helena described the pain of watching someone she loved fade behind confusion and darkness. "If I ever have children, I'll never be able to smell my baby," he once told her, words she never forgot. When he died in 1997, Helena stayed silent. Not out of indifference, but out of love. She didn't owe the world her grief, and she never tried to turn it into a headline. That quiet dignity, the strength to protect what's personal, became her trademark. After reaching the top of modeling, Helena didn't slow down, she evolved. She turned to photography, something she had loved long before fame. During shoots, she observed the greats, learning, asking questions, studying light and emotion. Her photos appeared in Nylon, Elle, and Marie Claire, filled with feeling rather than perfection. She captured life as it happened, raw, soft, human. She didn't chase relevance. She worked on what mattered. When she modeled again, it was by choice, not necessity. She kept balance, choosing work that felt right and walking away from what didn't. Her 40s brought a new chapter. She continued to model, post, and live on her own terms, sharing photos in lingerie or swimwear, not for attention, but to show that beauty doesn't fade with age. The internet had opinions, but Helena stayed calm. "The key to confidence," she said, "is not caring too much about what anyone else thinks of you, and staying in the moment." Through it all, she stayed connected to her roots, especially Peru, her mother's homeland. Through Oxfam, she traveled to small villages, met farmers, and learned about real struggles: climate change, water, survival. She didn't do it for cameras. She did it to understand, to give back. Then came motherhood. In 1999, she had her son, Mingus. It didn't stop her, it transformed her. Motherhood taught me to slow down, to stop racing and be present, she said. Work mattered, but home mattered more. Every decision became more intentional. Helena Christensen never reinvented herself, she simply evolved. She didn't chase fame or youth, she chased meaning. Behind the lens, she now chooses what the world sees and what stays hers. You know her face. You've seen it for decades. But now, maybe, you know the life behind it, a life of grace, quiet strength, and the courage to live on her own terms.